This week, I'm sharing with you a crash science in the classroom lesson. And the topic of this lesson is going to be distracted driving dangers. So, the point of the distracted driving dangers lesson is to explore how different distractions affect the time it takes to complete a numbered finger maze that will be provided to students. So, before getting started with the activity, you should have a pre-activity discussion looking at the question, have you ever witnessed somebody blindly bump into someone or something while trying to text and walk? For example, in the hallway, or if somebody was doing something annoying or harmful. What has distracted you at school before? And now, if you apply that to the driving conditions, how could that impact somebody as a driver? You can talk about how inexperienced teen drivers are particularly vulnerable to distractions when driving. After the discussion, it's important to look over the types of different driving distractions. So, for this particular activity, students are going to look at visual, auditory, manual, and cognitive distractions, or all of the above distractions, which includes combining types 1 and 4. After you go over that information, that content of the different ways a person can be distracted, you want students to brainstorm either as a class or as a turn and talk. 6 examples of voluntary driving distractions. So, voluntary driving distractions are things that someone is opting to do, opting to look at or listen to as they're driving. So, what are 6 things that can do that? After that brainstorm session, there's going to be some predictions happening. So, we've gone over the types of distractions, we've talked about distractions in the hallway at school. Now, let's predict what combination is going to produce the greatest and the least amount of distraction. So they have to come up with what combination would be the greatest amount of distraction, what combination would be the least amount of distraction while driving. After we've done that, we're going to review the key questions that students are going to try to answer during this experiment, which is how do different types of distractions affect the time required to complete a task, and how can driving while distracted be minimized. So there's a introduction video and conclusion video that you can show to the students. Basically, that goes over some of the information that I've already discussed briefly here. So you're welcome to check out the introduction video. I'll just bring it up so you can see what it looks like here real quick. I'll just play the first 10 seconds or so.
Welcome to the Distracted Driving Dangers activity. Everyone knows that distracted driving is very dangerous, and there's all sorts of different types of distractions that can occur while you're driving. But did you know that researchers have categorized all those different distractions into 4 main types? Well, you're going to explore some of those types today.
Okay, so that was the introduction to the video that you can see. After the introductory video, you are going to hand out some materials to students, which is all described in the lesson plan that's laid out. So different tools to help them distract each other. You want to give each group a stopwatch. And before students break up into their groups, you're just going to practice doing the touch track. So you're going to hand out the worksheet to the students and a stopwatch, and they have to touch each number in order and record the time it takes them to get from number 1 to number 10, and then stop the stopwatch and record their time. So the let's see. Practice touch track is here in front of us. So you can see that we'd want to start with 1, then find 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then they would stop the stopwatch, record that, and then do it one more time just to get a baseline. Now, after they've done that 2 times and they got their baseline for the practice track, you are going to go over um, directions for for distracting the driver. So next, they're going to get a tougher touch track that'll be more challenging with more numbers, and the students will have to do the same thing, going in order while touching the numbers as fast as they can while being timed while their classmates are distracting them. So, for visual distraction, you'll have one of the group members um, showing them various items. So, they have to look at the item and identify it by name while they're doing the task. And they're supposed to be shown a different item every 3 to 5 seconds. Possible items include playing cards or magazine photos that you can use. Really could be anything. Next, for the auditory distraction, students will be trying to distract the person doing the touch mat using auditory cues. So that person will read them short sentences, talk to them, give them parts of sentences from a book, ask them to repeat aloud what they've read to them. And then there's manual distractions. So the distractors are going to basically manipulate something around them other than the steering wheel. So for that, you can use a bowl of bingo chips or dice or paper clips. So you're going to remove uniquely shaped items from one bowl and place them in a second bowl. For example, you can ask them, please remove all of the dice from this bowl and put them in the second bowl. Please take out 3 paper clips and put them to the right of the bowl. Then for cognitive distractors, the distractors are going to inform the driver that they have to manually or mentally calculate a long addition problem. So you can just do, 3, add 5, add another 2, add one more, and then check to see if they have the answer correct. There is a chart you can give out to students so they don't have to think about these math problems. They can just read them off for the driver to try to focus on. So, and then all of the above will be a combination of all of those distractors. So, the students have a tough task ahead of them. They're going to then move on to the harder touch mat. So, there was our basic one. And then here is the second touch mat that is more challenging. As you can see, it goes well past 1 through 10. And that is the one that they'll have to conduct taking data from while the distractions are occurring. So hand out the mats here. You've already gone over directions about what the distractors are going to be doing. Now we're going to turn our attention to the data charts for the trials 1, 2, and 3, and then the column for the average time. So students are going to get into those groups of 4. You're going to review and agree on the roles, who's going to be the driver, who's going to be the distractor. You can have somebody be a timer. So first, you're going to try out touch track number 2 as quickly as possible without any distractions to establish a baseline performance. And then later, you want to put your trials 1, 2, and 3 in with distractions. So you'll see at the top, there's the without distraction time. And then down at the bottom, there's with distractions and the average time. Once each student has had a chance to go through that, or if you're short on time, having one student do it and using them as an example for the group, then you're going to go on to the analysis questions. So the first analysis question is review the data, rank 3 types of sensory distractions from most distraction or most distracting to least distracting, and then compare your results with your earlier predictions in item number 2 when they were trying to guess what is the most and what is the least distracting. And then analysis question number 2, what are some possible explanations for the ways different types and combinations of distractions affect the driver's ability to complete the touch track? And then analysis question number 3, imagine you're an engineer trying to design an automated in the car system to detect distracted driving. As part of the engineering design process, you must firstly clearly define the problem, which is distracted driving. Work with your team members to create a comprehensive yet brief 1 sentence definition of distracted driving. And then finally, the crash challenge question. You are driving at 55 miles an hour on a highway. You receive a text from a friend. You decide to read the text and text back to your friend while driving. Subtract the time average of your without distraction trials from the time average of all of the above distraction trials. That would be from the data charts above that you have already completed. And determine the average amount of time sending and receiving a text could distract you. And then use that time measurement and the velocity to calculate the distance traveled while distracted. And show your calculations in the box below. So this would show a student based on the time that they're being distracted and the speed at which they're driving, how long are they basically driving blind, in other words. There's a conclusion video that you can click on to show your class. I'll go ahead and click on it and just show you the first few seconds of it once again.
How'd it go? It's tough, isn't it? And driving is a much more complicated behavior than doing our touch track. Inexperienced drivers, like teenagers, are particularly vulnerable to distractions. It doesn't matter what type of distraction it is. You can be combing your hair, playing with the radio, talking to your friends in the back seat. All distractions are bad. They're very, very dangerous. In fact, NHTSA actually showed in a study that sending or receiving a text takes your eyes away from the road for an average of 4.6 seconds.
All right, I'll stop that there for you to continue on your own if you wish. And then the outcomes and takeaways. In looking at this activity, going through it myself, and then also looking at teacher notes, it found that most students find that a mixture of all 4 types of distractions resulted in higher times to complete the task or completing the task chart out of order when distracted. All distractions ultimately impacted time to complete the task. We found that a simple text message can distract you from the road for over 10 seconds, depending on the text, which, depending on your speed, could be about 1,000 feet of blind driving. And distracted driving is dangerous. Multitasking does not work. So, if this sounds like an activity you're interested in doing in your class, um, I encourage you to go ahead and do so. Uh, this was just a summary of what um, my takeaways were from this activity, as well as some of the information that was provided from the lesson plans and the student worksheets. This is Kate Schultz. I'm signing off. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.